Okay, hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the roads. That's one of the first things I actually start working on when I'm building a map. I find it's easy because it's very simple. You don't need any other assets on the map to start placing the roads, and you can always quickly change roads afterwards if need be. I'm just gonna have a compilation at the end of recorded footage that I have from building the roads up until now, so you can get an idea properly of how I do it, the amount of work that goes into specific things. I think right now what I'd like to do is just quickly go over, the basics of road placement, what I would suggest, stuff that I use to work on the maps for placing roads, that kind of stuff. So let's begin with what you actually use to place things, right? So we've got on the left side here, there's a thing called unit creation. Um, yeah, you can open it over here, but it should be open from the start. You can filter in these types here to have specific things. Now you can place pretty much anything in the game using this menu, even units. I'm not quite sure if they actually work properly if you spawn them in on the map and stuff. But I imagine this is something for custom scenarios or something else. I'm not sure. Maybe it's for the command, for the general command general mode, something like that. I forgot what it's called. Um, but either way, what we usually use, we've got a bunch of these here. This here is a Bézier. I'm assuming that's how you say it. It's French, but I'm not quite sure what it means, to be honest. The Bézier is a lot of stuff that is like an end product that you want to place somewhere, which is usually like a line. Those are Béziers. Editor's note: the Bézier is a kind of curve, and that's basically what they're referring to. There you go. And then you have fillers, and fillers is mostly to place squares or whatever kind of shapes you have, and usually it will fill up the area with a specific texture, or sometimes with a bunch of textures, right? So they overlap and stuff. I'll go into detail for fillers in another video. So basically, you've got the Bezier. That's what you want to use to place roads. The most important part about it is the fact that you can actually place a road texture, but you need to make sure it's also functioning as a road, right? So if I would just place some asphalt on the ground, the unit pathfinding, it's not going to see that as a road. It's also not going to increase the speed of the unit, right? Because of the speed is defined by the terrain type. So that's why we're using the Beziers. And then specifically, we will usually use a smart line or a multi-line. Let's see, so for the most on this map right now, I've been using multi-line Main Street and a bunch of derivatives of this. I was talking about this in the last video as well. But you've also got these ones, multi-line bitumen and multi-line bitumen small, and these are actually pretty good as well. So you know what? Let's go over the different road types that I usually use. So this one's basically like well, it's like a shitty dirt-ish road. You can see on the sides it's got a bit of dirt on it and stuff. But it's already asphalted, right? And the road bitumen, this one's more of a high-end speed road thingamabob. It's not a highway, that's also something. I haven't actually placed any on this map because this map doesn't have highways. But most of the other roads that we have that I will be using are to be found in the Main Street category over here. So, for example, Main Street V2, that's basically this one, but it doesn't have the stripes on the end and it's a bit smaller. So this will imply, I suppose, that the street is like less important. Let's put it that way. You've also got variants with borders on them. That's what they call it. And the borders are like sidewalks, that kind of stuff. You've also got the original Main Street um, one instead of the V2. There's a bunch of roads like this with just a small sidewalk, but as I found out working on this, is a lot of the junctions with other roads or crossroads and stuff don't really work very well with this one. I think it's probably because it's older and they didn't bother. I'm not sure. See, this works, but if you start mixing this road with that one, for example, or this one, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, I mean this, of course it works, you know, what can I say? Okay, this is a good example, right? This one as well. So, okay, no, this one works. So yeah, this is a problem in game. I've noticed a lot of roads are incompatible with certain other roads, and then other roads are compatible again and stuff. That's just something you will have to find out when you're connecting roads. You will see me struggle with that in the video as well, but you know, that's just how it is right now. I guess it's not a complete set of working junctions. So basically, right, these are the primary roads, let's say. I guess if you would order it, I would put it like this, right? So you've got, this is the really shitty road, this is a medium road, this is a more advanced road, this is like a city road. So if it's a town, I'm usually gonna be using this one or this one. This one is more for the city. I'm not sure where I'll be using the crossroad, the sidewalk roads exactly. I'm gonna see, because right now I have a bunch of the dioramas, which is like the city blocks or village blocks, and they already have sidewalks and parking spaces, that kind of stuff built into the houses, into the diorama. So I'm not sure if I want to be using this one. You know, I might just make new dioramas that take this into account, but you know, also it's difficult because the roads are very, very wide and doesn't really add that much for the game. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. Then there's these which can get a bit weird because they get really big. This one I like personally. So I guess it's like a road with a, I don't know, is it like a bus lane or something? Or maybe that's for parking? I'm not sure. But it's good because this is like an intermediate if you want to have a bigger road, right, than this one, but you don't want to go up to highway levels, that kind of stuff. There's also this one, Urban 5V, which is the same but just wider. I use this one a little bit on this map, but I don't know, it's really big, so I've gone around a couple of times already now and just removed it and changed it to the smaller one because it's so bulky, man. You can't work with this. Yeah, so same thing with these ones as with some other junctions. It can get a bit difficult sometimes, right? So this one works. That's not too far-fetched, right? But if you wanna combine this one with this one, yeah, good luck. It doesn't work. There's a bunch of streets that can merge into other street types. That's also pretty nifty. But once again, they're not all compatible, right? So this one, for example, that works. Same with the bitumen. So let me do that on this side, right? That works. But good luck getting this one on this one. It's just not gonna work. You're just gonna have a road connected. Same with this one, because it has the sidewalks. Sometimes it will work, sometimes it won't. For example, this works, right? But you really have to figure it out. So this is the road bitumen small, and as you can see, it doesn't do what it just did with the other one, which is a shame because it looks really good. So yeah, you're just gonna have to get creative, think a bit, think a bit ahead before you start placing a bunch of stuff down. But like I said, it's kind of easy to replace these roads as long as you haven't placed a lot of other stuff around them. like the houses and stuff. That's gonna cause you a bunch of headaches. Um, let's see, what other ones do we got? Right, so for example, you've got these sidewalks, right? Some of the streets will work with that, like this one, and they will kind of merge the sidewalks, so you have a nice ending of your urban area, but not all of them do. This one, see, this doesn't work. Same with this one, I think. Yeah, exactly. So, but if I add this one, no, okay. Okay, so this one works, right? So, I don't know, man. It's just, you really have to just figure it out. See what works, see what doesn't work. That's the core of this whole informational part here. So there's also highways. The highways, there's a bunch of different versions. You've got some with fences, you've got some without fences. Basically, they're all pretty much the same, right? Just a little more or less well developed. This one is more developed, less, even less. Um, Crossroads on highways, same as with all the others. You're just gonna have to figure it out, right? Find the ones that work, find the ones that don't. This will not work. I don't actually think you can make a junction with just highways. So these things you have to kind of figure out. I'll show you on the Avdivka map how I did that. And I think that's also a good argument to try and limit the amount of highways you're using, especially when they're crossing each other, because of the junction. So, okay, this is a highway. This junction looks really well made, right? So that's not a problem. But if you have two highways that need to merge into one another, yeah, this is how I did it on this map. I'm not proud of this, but it's literally the best thing I could find to make a T-junction with the highway. Because this part looks great, so why couldn't they just have this and then add a bunch more like that over here? I don't know. I guess they never really had the need for it, or maybe I didn't find it. That's also an option. But yeah. So we've got these ugly crossroads everywhere. Same here. This also looks really bad. Why did I do it like this? On the other side it worked. Oh yeah, because that's like an X junction. Right? That was an X junction. Yeah. So this works, but if you got a T junction, then you're shit out of luck. Which really sucks. So yeah, you have to make do. So my suggestion, if you're gonna place highways, don't. No, I'm kidding. But you know, it really depends. Of course, right now I'm limited because I try to take the satellite imagery. So I can't say, well, this is an X junction, right? I have to make it a T junction. But if you're gonna make a custom map, I would just design around that issue right now and make a T junction, an X junction. Alright, moving on. Going back to the other map. You've also got these kind of junctions over here. This is like a Y junction. They can be a pain. Same with the T junctions and stuff. So basically, there is always going to be one road and then another road that connects into it. And then if you move that road, it will regenerate the junction based on whatever it thinks is the best. But the problem is that the alignment is not always right. So, okay, this is a bad example. I'll need to select two of them. Right? It's usually when you're placing something like that, it's gonna start looking like this. That's really how it looks. So it's just gonna make like, you've got the road here, you've got a road there, and then it's just gonna make like a diagonal. So you have to mess around and get it to align properly, and only then it's gonna look half decent-ish. Yeah, so that's how I did it. This is one example. This is a T-junction, which also looks kind of shit. But yeah, same story here, I guess. This one looks good though. See, so this is what it was intended for, and if you're using it like that, then it works, right? So I'm not saying it's all bad or something, but it's just we need a bunch more options to have everything work correctly. Here is also a fun little thing. So I've got a crossroads here with the Main Street Urban, which is the two-lane thing with like the parking space or bus lane or whatever it is. And for this road, I wanted to add a crossroads for this one and for this one, but this one it's not supported, and this one it's only supported for T junctions. So if you want an X junction, you have to first have like the same lane as this one and then merge it into another one. This one can't merge into that one, so I had to place the road bitumen in the middle. And for this one it wasn't a problem. No wait, it was. Okay, yeah, it also was. So for both sides I used the road bitumen to, so there's like 3 different road types here just for going from here to here. I don't think it looks bad. It looks alright. It looks pretty natural. But it is very limiting. So you know, this is a solution that I would suggest when you're struggling with that. Yeah. All right. Let's see. So for example, right, I've had here some bridges that I've laid down. These are very small bridges. They go over small rivers. Placing bridges is a bit tricky though, because well, ideally you'd like to just connect this. So this is one line and then it goes through and goes over there, and then you could just replace a part of the road with a bridge. But the problem is that it's gonna clip over it a little bit, right? So if I would align this right to there, then the road runs under the bridge, which I personally don't like. So I break them. You can break the nodes by going to edit and then here is break or press B, and then you can actually individually control the nodes because they're not connected anymore. I'll show how that works over here. So I pressed B on this one. Now I can move this and I can move this. If I were to undo it, now if I move this, everything's gonna move. So okay. So another thing I had to do for the bridge here, if you place a bridge from the start, it's going to place it as like it's a road. So what you want to do is you want to increase the elevation so it looks like an actual bridge. Now once again, this is a bit due to the fact that I'm using height maps from actual world spaces instead of you know, building something around how the game engine works. So you might not have this problem. But yeah, so placing it here, this looks fine. But it would be better if you increase the height a little bit, because then you have the fall off here. Move it a bit to the right, and then add the connecting roads. That's how I would do it. So that's also what I did over here, right? So if I place the bridge without increasing the elevation, it would look like this, which is that's almost not a bridge. The only reason this bridge is placed this low and not higher is because of the fact that I can't, due to the slopes not being long enough. Maybe there's a fix for that. I tried figuring it out, but not yet. No success as of yet. So for now, that's how it is. Okay. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay, so to properly get an idea of where you're going with your build, I would advise pressing tab every now and then, which opens up the vectoral map mode, which is, it looks like this. And this will kind of, not every road shows up, but this will kind of show you what kind of roads you have on which locations. If you press Shift T, you can also get a top-down view. So I'll turn this off again, and now you can see we've got a top-down view of the map. So pressing Tab again, we can see now a bunch of the roads. If I now also on the right side here, I say make roads visible, it will also show all the roads itself as white stripes. So add that onto the other roads that already have colors. You can see all the roads you've placed. So this is really nice to check also. So for example, if I turn on the satellite mode, lower the opacity a little bit, I can easily see, okay, this road right here, for example, yeah, this one here, I haven't placed yet, so I'll need to do that. That kind of stuff. So that's quite handy. The color coding also helps so that you have an idea what kind of roads you're using on what kind of areas. I'll show you on Avdiivka what it looks like, because it doesn't only show roads, it shows a bunch of stuff. So for example, it will show areas that have been filled in with fields or forests, you know, that kind of stuff, water. So this is very handy when you need a quick overview and you want to see what you're doing, but you don't want to have to see every single thing. Yeah, this is a glitch that happens sometimes when you switch maps. So yeah, I would definitely recommend using this map mode, and also the top-down view. It's very, very handy. So be sure to use that as well. You know, if you want to make a road smaller or bigger, that's not really very hard to do. You can just replace the specific item. So for example, I've got this road over here. If I want to make this road done, you know, not have the stripes on the sides, I can just replace that part of the road. So that's it. Okay, now we will try to place some roads, and I'll explain to you as I'm going along how I'm doing it. So we've got this road over here. This is a bit of a special one because there's a water area next to it. I'll always check my little 3D map that has a higher fidelity than what I'm using to render on the in-game screen. This helps me get a proper view of the area. And as we can see, this is basically just a regular old road, and it runs past this dam or bridge, or, well, I guess it's like a dam, right? Because the water flows through here. Then again, doesn't the water flow this way? I think so. River flows from north to south. So this is like a basin. Interesting. Anyways, so we place the road like this with the regular main street Béziers, the V2 that is, because that's the one I found is the most agreeable with a lot of areas that we're working on. This one has the sidewalks, but it should work. Yeah, see, so I go here on the left, I go to create mode, which is the one you need to actually place stuff. Then you right click on the tile you want to go to. Oh yeah, I haven't even explained snap mode. So there's also a thing called snap mode at the bottom. You can change it up with the space bar. There's 3 different types. You've got just regular placement, which is unrestricted, and then snap mode on grids, which is like if there's a grid on the map, then you would be able to place it like this. I think this is generally useful, once again, if you're placing stuff that actually needs to be symmetrical. So for example, you know, in the scenario editor, you're creating a spawn area or something like that. This is useful. but usually you don't want something this rigid when you're working on a map. So I rarely use this in map editing. And then you've got the snap mode to actually snap to existing points. And this one is most useful, especially in two scenarios. The scenario where you want to make sure you're not overlapping with anything else. For example, we're filling in a grass field and next to a forest, that kind of stuff. So you just snap to the end of the forest line with your field line. And the second one is for these lines, because they will automatically detect that your node is connecting and change the road accordingly, right? So for example, here I have placed crossroads just by connecting this road. If I do it in this direction, it works the same. So I can place the road here, but as soon as it snaps, you see there's a crossroad. This is like an arrow that shows the direction of the line. Usually that doesn't matter, but sometimes it's necessary for certain things to look in a certain way. You can change that. There's a button here, reverse direction, Control B, and then you can see the arrow snaps in the other direction. I don't use that a lot, but it is there if you need it. So let's continue placing. Right, so usually I'm gonna place a bunch of these nodes. I can always add more or remove them if necessary. But I already placed them so I can make the movement look a bit more fluid for the roads, otherwise the line is too straight. You're gonna also want to add snap points every time you're coming at a crossroads, because afterwards, when you're working on that road, you will want to be able to make it a crossroads. So it's nice if there's already a node here waiting for you. So go ahead and right click on that point, and then on the next one, see these are two crossroads. And then it's up to you how much you want to, go into the fidelity of this. Usually these kind of roads, which is like from an office building or industry, whatever, usually I don't put nodes there because I will just place a generic industry building and it doesn't have a connecting road. It's just got some built-in stuff. So in that case, it's not necessary. So it's up to you. This you can use, I guess. This is especially a road. This could be one. We're moving right along. I'm gonna immediately go here, or I put one here because otherwise maybe the line isn't actually properly straight. But I think it looks alright, so I'm just gonna put it like this. And well, I mean, at this point it's kind of up to you where you want to go. You can just place roads and connect them up. It doesn't really matter if it's a long road or a short one. I'll just keep going straight here. And the road seems to end somewhere here, probably due to the industry. Let's have a look, because maybe we'll need to swap out a bit of the road at the end to more or less an industrial looking road, but I'm not actually sure. It's pretty vague here, because this looks like a dirt road and this looks like a dirt road. This actually looks properly asphalted, so I think I'm gonna keep it this way. So we'll have it going in the corner over here, and then there's a dirt road connecting, which you can already try and place. Let's see what happens. So I'm placing the road bitumen small. I want to place it here. I don't have a node here, so I could either move this node. If I press Z for all you QWERTY lovers, I can switch to the next mode of editing, which is called translation. And then when right clicking, I can move the node. I can also click on this here and then press N, and it will add a new node, which allows me, it's always going to be in the middle, which allows me to snap to that one without having to move that one. So there we go. I placed my shitty roads. But now we see what I was talking about earlier with the T intersections sometimes being a bit annoying. So this will just require you to tinker around with the nodes until it looks better. So let me try that. I'm gonna move move it up a bit. Use my creative liberty to make it look good. So this is also a bit weird. As you can see, the actual line is straight, but this doesn't look straight. That's because of the fact that how this is generated, the crossroads. As it's a single entity, you can't change it. So usually if something like this looks weird, I will add a new node so that this is working as expected instead of it looking weird and out of place. So yeah, I mean, I guess this is fine. I would maybe do it a bit more. And now you can see as well the curves are not really curving, right? They're very much with edges. So we can change this in two ways. First of all, we can go back to this mode, the translation mode, and there's these dots on the nodes. And if we right click on them, we can change the curvature of the line. Sometimes it requires a bit more, or sometimes it requires a bit less. You can do it on both sides. This looks alright, but usually maybe we'll just like, you know, get these more out of the way for each other, so you have a bit more space to create a proper curve. Something like that. But before I continue, there's also another way we can do this. So I'm gonna move this a bit more again. If you go here to edit, I think, or items. Yeah, and this here is called Shift B. It's called Auto Create Bezier. Once again, I don't understand because I thought this was a Bezier. So what are you auto creating? I don't know. But when you do this, you will basically have it try and figure out how to curve it properly. Now, in this case, it has worked disastrously. This is not a good example. So let me try that again. So imagine we've got a curve like this. If I now do Shift B on this one, see? It actually looks pretty decent. But it requires some babysitting. So don't just go and Shift B your entire road, as you will see me do every now and then, because you have to go over each individual node and check if they're goobered up in any way. So this one looks fine. It saves you a lot of time using the Auto Bezier, so I definitely recommend using it, but just remain vigilant. I usually recommend, well, I recommend you use individual nodes mostly to change the curvatures instead of just selecting your entire road. It prevents you from having headaches in the future. See, okay, this can also happen. Like what is this? So let's see if we can fix it. I don't know why it does that. But like this one goes all the way over here, this one goes there. I think it's to do with how close the nodes are placed next to each other. But yeah, I mean, that's less than ideal. Okay, this one looks fine. We can add a bit of curvature here, and that's it. We've created our road. I will now turn this back on so we can actually see the road, and we see our little road that we added as well. We can add some more curvature to that one and then align it so that it looks where it's supposed to be going, which I'm actually not sure. Where was it going? Something like that. Yeah, okay. So there we go. I can also, because this is a really short one, I can use Shift Q or Shift A. Yeah, I'm not sure what it is for you, but like, you know, select all for, instead of Control A, it's Shift A for me at least. And this will only select the line that you have selected, right? So this one is separate because this is a different line that we connected to this one. This one is also separate. If I use it here, you can see it's only this road. But beware, because it can get a bit gimmicky if you place the road very long and it's still the same road. So this one, all of this is the same road. So, you know, you want to be careful with that. Okay, so we select the entire road and then press Shift B, and then we can see it goobered this one up again. This one as well. Okay, bad example once again. Let's just do it individually. This is me not following my own advice. Excellent. Yeah, you're just best to do it with each individual node if you want to make sure that it looks good. Maybe I'm missing something, right? Maybe there's a better technique to it, the way I place my nodes, but this is usually what happens, so. Okay, well, that's how you place a road. Now let's continue placing some more of these. Main Street V2. So we've got a junction over here which I'll place. And a junction over here. This one goes out very far. And we see we've reached a town. So usually I try and place a bunch of nodes in these areas because it makes it easier to make it, you know, rounder in the end. But it can also work with just 2 nodes and then you use the Bezier. But I find, I don't know, I just do it like that. All right, see, this is also interesting. This is a textbook Y junction, so it pretty much works out of the box. I would add a node here though, so it looks a bit better. Straighten it up a bit. But yeah, I mean, so placing a Y node like this is ideal. But sometimes you will see that you're placing a Y node and it doesn't actually look like it should. Making them round again. That looks good. That looks very good. Okay. You know, it's these little things where you've got the curvatures that you really want to get good. Otherwise the map, it doesn't matter how much time you spend on it. If stuff like this looks bad, you're gonna see it instantly and it's just a turn off. I'm not saying everything I'm doing is perfect. There's definitely some stuff that I would like to do better, but I'm also a bit limited by, you know, the flexibility of what you can do with the junctions, as I stated previously. Okay, so that's it. We placed an extra road. As you can see in the overview mode here, we can actually see the roads here. This one's a red, this one's green, because it's a shitty dirt road. And there you go. The next part of the video is just basically me going through what I've been doing this past couple of days, working on the map and on the roads. Feel free to stick around. Maybe I'll add some commentary here and there to explain what I'm doing. But this is just to document the work and to, you know, inform anyone who wants to see what I'm actually doing with the techniques and stuff that I just explained. So yeah, feel free to stick around. I'll put on some relaxing music, or you can turn it off and just have something in the background running, you know, that kind of stuff. All right, enjoy. In this first session, I spent some time experimenting, you know, adding some stuff, looking at the scale of the map. I pretty much figured out that the scale of the satellite imagery is not going to fit in the scale of what I put in the map, but I can't make the map bigger due to engine limitations. So 3 by 3 is the max for what I'm trying to do here. Yeah, so I was figuring that out. There's also a bunch of stuff I'm doing with the grid lines that you can see later on, where I'm realizing that certain road types do not actually have a color. But you know, that's pretty much it. And then obviously placing roads and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what I've been doing here. After the first session, I had only placed one big road, so it was really time to get a move on. That's what the second session was for. This mainly consisted of me placing roads and everything that comes with placing roads in the game. Uh, Pay attention to how I have to constantly look at the satellite map to figure out what kind of road I actually want to place, right? So you can see me experimenting with that, seeing what looks proper, and you can also see me struggle with junctions and so on, which is a lot of fun. In this last session, you can see me specifically working on more of the urbanized areas of the map. You can see me work with a bunch of the bigger internal city roads. It's a lot harder to make proper junctions with those, so I have some trouble with that. And you can also see me laying the bridges that I was talking about earlier in the video. So that's what you can see here. And then on top of that, obviously, it's just some more work on other roads.